now I have none.
Thanks.
This meeting is being recorded.
With that, under my warrant folder.
Good. All right. Well, open public comment, Richard.
I just wonder why the auto bid got posted and the date's still the same, 28th of July, BBN line.
They just didn't edit it, they have since fixed it.
The newspaper. Or
Yeah, it was fixed.
all right. It was fixed.
The other one's is Zoom information. How do we come in and what do we need to bring in to get some of the video from Zoom?
From past meetings.
Yeah.
We're looking into that, right? About how to list them on YouTube or something.
Right, they're currently stored on the Zoom site.
Yeah.
So we did have an idea of putting them on YouTube so they'd be accessible to anybody who wanted to look at them. And I don't think anything's been done on that, but
No,
we can certainly do it.
I was just thinking about that the other day as well.
And the other thing is I was just wondering how come we're not seeing the Zoom up on top on the TV screen?
Just because we haven't gotten around to it, but we can.
I think we tried at one point, there was some connection there.
You played with it at one meeting.
Yeah.
We got it going in that meeting.
You did?
Thank you.
So
Thanks.
see how much I look at the screen.
It was just that one. What was I going to ask? Probably Bob can help with uploading and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, public comment is closed. Select board reports. Sandra?
Let's see. One thing, a citizen has approached me with the idea of having a changing station at the town beach. And they are willing to donate the materials for same and possibly more. And is there interest in that? And it seemed to me that it was a reasonable idea. And who decides if that's something we want to proceed with? Is my question.
What would it look like? That we're
Well,
trying
I
to
guess we'd have to have a
visualize it.
design,
Yeah,
but would that be up to this group to say yay or nay? The point being, people get out of the water,
yeah.
they're soaking wet, maybe they don't want to get in their cars and drive home, so.
Oh, a clothing changing station?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was thinking baby changing.
Oh, no, sorry. Well, it could be used for that too. I'm sorry, clothing changing station, yeah.
We actually used to have one of the larger porta potties. They're just bigger with more space for that
The
reason.
handicap. accessible,
Yeah, I think so. And that was actually for that reason.
Changing in a
I'm not-
porta potty is
yeah,
really
that's
not
good.
ideal.
I mean, a changing station probably would be better, but yeah.
And the brief description I received was something, not closed bottom to top, but just walled in to give some privacy so somebody could change out of the bathing suit. And
Could it be something that's portable that we could take off the beach during the off season?
we'd probably want to do that,
Yeah.
so.
This is great. There's been other people too who have expressed interest in prettying up or otherwise adding amenities to the beach. I would suggest we corral them to take a broader look at the property that's
A
there.
town beach committee is what I
I
hear.
didn't say the word. I didn't say the word.
Town beach
A
group,
working group, if you will, a group of
ad hoc committee.
interested parties.
Okay,
And make some of this stuff happen. Obviously, there's going to be limitations to what we could do in structures or whatever, but we could probably pop in a handmade changing station, no problemo.
okay.
I know Cass Heffron has been interested in doing something, and we could probably just put up a little poster or something on the parking sign or something down there, whatever sign is down there. And
Or add it to our clipboard list.
Yeah. But down, I mean, so that it's in front of people who are using the space
Yeah,
to
that's
reach
good.
out with ideas.
And I think that having something portable will also take away from some of the somebody else taking advantage or destroying said property, because I know that other towns struggle with vandalism and stuff inside changing
Good point.
tables.
Yeah.
And changing stations, or however you want to Or, yeah, affordable.
So we need to
eliminate
look
that.
at this and figure out the best way to address it for our community.
We already have a recreation committee.
And it does kind of fall there, doesn't
It
it?
does.
Yeah. So maybe we put this on the rec committees. And that's what I was going to ask. I suggested to Helena that she reach out to the new committees to set up initial meetings.
And I swear this is on my to-do list.
I'm sure it is. It's like my to-do list. And I said I would be happy to sit in on either or both to help guide the first step. But
Yes.
I thought it would be good if that came from the new town manager rather than me. Because who am I? I'm a minor person, but you're the figurehead for the town. So.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree, and it is on my to-do list for rec and, festival committee.
Yes.
The other thing is if you can see if it's ADA certified, so you don't have any complaints. That's the other thing.
And that, oh, the other thing I was reading our ordinances, trying to figure things out. Ordinances are fun to read in your spare time. And there's mention of an annual administrative review of the land use ordinance by the CEO of the planning board and the board of appeals. Do we do that?
Let's ask the chair of the planning board and the CEO, former CEO. Do we do an annual review? Or it's ad hoc?
Yes,
Well, it's in the ordinance, so we either ought to do it, and if there's nothing,
we
say,
don't have a set meeting, but we do it when we review, like, we need to update the land use ordinance, or we need the shoreline zoning ordinance, or any of the ordinances, if they need updating, then we address those as they come forward.
so that is done at least on an annual basis?
Yeah.
Okay, that wasn't clear to me, but.
What were we gonna say, Brian?
You're gonna, they're gonna build a permanent structure, a structure of any type. You're gonna be 75 feet from the center line of the road over there, and 100 feet from the wall.
It's gonna be a challenge.
You're gonna solve-
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll have to factor all those considerations in whatever ideas come up with.
Build it on the other side of the road, but then you're close to the wetland.
And people are crossing the road,
Right,
and people drive too fast by
Yeah,
the beach.
yeah.
so
We'll figure
there
it out.
are
We'll
issues
figure it
to be
out.
addressed,
Yeah.
but nice offer from a townsperson. I thought we got to address it.
Yeah.
And that was all I had.
I just had, well, I have two things, I guess, the update on the trash plant in Hamden. So it's been in the news. So the court, the judge approved the purchase by municipal review committee. And as I mentioned last time, MRC is partnering with a financial group, Revere Associates, something like that, Revere something, who will be their financial partner, and then Revere is partnering with another company that has the technical know-how to run the plant and get it up. So I'm just waiting to hear like when that might happen, when the opening date might be. But they've got some work to do to get it all ready for that.
I read some things about their partners that did not give me great confidence that this is going to happen.
Which one?
The financial backers
The Revere?
with the people
No,
in Miller
CS.
Market that
Oh, the
backed out
CS.
and did not.
So that's.
That deal fell through, so.
Oh, that's
I'm not sure these financial backers are all they're cracked up to be, but I could be wrong.
The CS folks were the technical people. Those were the,
I think their specialty, if you call it specialty, is like industrial manufacturing type projects more than being engineers. They just invest in those types of projects.
okay,
They were the ones to try to get the mill going in East Millinocket.
oh, okay.
So maybe it would be great if it worked. I'm hoping it does.
Yeah, yeah.
When I read that, I thought, oh,
When did you see that?
yeah, last week, it was in the Bangor Daily News.
Okay. When was that? The one I read was just, gosh, end of over the weekend or Monday or so, about the judge approving the purchase, so. Another one.
Time will tell.
Yeah, and that's really all I have. The other thing is on our agenda, so.
All right. A resident had reached out asking about public restroom downtown, and Elaine and I were talking, and I keep forgetting, is there a porta potty over by the boat launch?
Not
They
permanently.
didn't have any this year. We talked about putting one and agreed to put one, but when I called Foss, they did not have any extras.
Oh, well,
Gotcha.
actually, we have one for Summerfest and there will be one next weekend.
Yes, they said that you had some pre-booked for occasions,
I didn't
and they had
realize,
those,
okay.
but they didn't have just an extra one that they could bring up.
Okay, so then, but we did have one there last year, right?
No, I don't think
I
we
don't
ever
think
have.
so.
I have like a very clear memory. Maybe it's
Not
false,
most of the
maybe it was a
season.
dream, maybe it was a dream. of a
Or it was
porta
during an event and you just happened to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
or-
mean, I'm down there almost every day with the dog and there definitely
All right.
wasn't one there.
Well, let's just note something people are asking about, and it was already on our agenda for items to work on.
Yep.
Just some additional feedback. Last night, the Moosehead Lake Region Economic Development Corporation had their annual dinner, so I went up for that. Not much specific to report. It was mostly the Greenville crowd. Lee Humphrey, the CEO of Eastern Maine Development Corporation, was the speaker. Senator King's representative was there. I think for the highlights was just learning more about what EMDC is working on and how it might fit in with some topics of relevance for us, in particular the climate resiliency initiative. They're kind of spearheading that. And actually just this week, Lori Osher she's a state representative from Orono, but she just got a job at EMDC. So she's coordinating the climate resiliency initiatives. This is what we're talking about for our region. So we'll get that conversation going with them about learning more about that process. It's like a rolling grant program for a wide range of initiatives. We have a couple of different ideas for what we might be able to do. They give grants up to $50,000 to communities that are doing this work. So just wanted to report back that we met with them. The MLR EDC is in the process of updating their own strategic plans. They invited me to join their group to work through that process, in part to make sure that Monson is part of what they're thinking about. Historically, it's been very much Greenville focused. That will kick off later this fall and then run through the winter. And then lastly, they've hired a new interim executive director who has just recently started, is on for, I think, at least 6 months, and they hope to hire her permanently pending funding. But she and Margarita Contrini, the head of that board, will be in town tomorrow to meet them for lunch. So I'll report back at the next meeting about that.
What kinds of things might climate resiliency involve?
It's everything from, a very specific thing might be a grant for a heat pump, or to put in the EV charging station, or to,
So very broad.
yeah, that's like a very specific thing. Dover is doing like extreme weather
Yeah.
planning.
Well, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
So we don't end up like Jackman.
Yeah, exactly.
That road was only closed for a couple of days. I was hoping it would be long-term to cut down on traffic, but
Yeah, floodplain assessments, you name it.
anything and everything that could be.
Yeah, they actually have a list of like, I think it's
It's on the governor's
127 things.
website, yeah.
And some of them are very specific and others are, categories that they would support.
I know Dover's been active in getting their group together for that. And we've had a couple contacts, but no follow through with them. They wanted to partner with other towns. And I don't know what their status is right now, but it's good to hear that there's a regional kind of coordination.
Yeah,
for that.
and for Dover, they wanted us to join one of these next groups. And I told them, we'll come back to you when the dust settles over here a little bit. Now the dust has settled a little bit, so we're kicking that back up again. Lori just happened to reach out like right around the same time. Yeah, so that's exciting. And then lastly, for the public, we had a special meeting the other day after we set the mill rate at the last meeting. And then after that meeting, some additional information came to light with the auditor about the school budget and two
Yeah.
abatements, right?
Yeah, and just updating, like information in Trio basically, and where my numbers came from Trio, just changing some of like the homestead exemptions and stuff like that, changes the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, so there were a couple of tweaks. So we had a special meeting. Well, if we had kept the same mill rate that we had voted on at the previous meeting, we would have had a very large overlay. So we held a special meeting to right-size the overlay, so we dropped the mill rate from 17.15 to 16.95.
Yep.
So the rate for next year would be 16.95. That's it for me. So town manager report.
Okay, so I gave you guys a little bit of an update. One of the things that I'm working on right now is Dover just had their celebration for becoming Dover Foxcroft. And in my passing, I saw this sign that is like a digital sign that says, upcoming this weekend is a parade, take caution or whatever.
Right.
So on the bottom of the sign had a couple of police stickers on the bottom of it. I called Dover to figure out where they got their sign, thinking maybe we can borrow it if they own it, or if we can borrow it from whoever. They don't seem to know where it came from or who placed it, but I know for certain it has a Milo Police Department on it. So my travels home, if I happen to see Nick, the police chief, I'm gonna say, hey, is this your sign and can I borrow it? Because I feel like that would be a
That would
really
be very
good thing to
helpful.
have.
Yeah.
And to place out there for the whole week and then,
Right.
so,
People are already picking up on the handmade signs. that are
yeah,
out,
yeah.
So,
So I feel like that would be a huge help. The Burke Road, so there has been issues with landowners and everything on the Burke Road pertaining to the work that's going on the Burke Road. I spoke with the lawyer just to make sure that all of our bases are covered. And as long as we have a contract, which he helped me come up with Rod Burke, then all of our bases are covered with him doing work on the road. So that's pretty
so
much,
do we have said contract at this point?
not in this moment, but I told him no more work until it is signed.
And what's the timeframe? for that?
Well, the lawyer, I actually just spoke to him today, so this is just new information. He said that MMA has contracts that I can fill in and then just
Okay.
send it to him and then he can approve it. And I told Rod that I would be in touch with him either tomorrow afternoon or on Tuesday.
Great.
I think that's
Otherwise, good.
otherwise good, yep.
All right. Next up, Bicentennial Committee.
Big parade, August 20th. Be here or be square. I understand there'll be a
Can I be
town.
both?
You can be both.
Okay, good.
Are you gonna be a square on the town float?
You might be.
You might be,
I'll be dressed to impress.
okay. Nothing other than what I've already reported.
Well, I have a question, which is that if there's, 150 floats or however many it is, and there's a couple of people on each float, who's gonna be watching? Right?
Well, I will be.
Yeah.
They're gonna be working in the museum, so I'm gonna watch the parade.
Perfect.
We'll be sure to throw you candy.
I think there's gonna be 150. I had the city today and there'll be at least 15 in the first part. 15, what does she call them? Components, for lack of a better word, in the first part. Because
Do we get to be in the first part?
I don't know. No, you guys are supposed to be in the first part. But this came up because somebody's child is gonna be in the library float and they need to leave town at 11.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let me put you in touch with Tootie, and you guys will want to park on North Guilford Road, because
Really?
otherwise you won't
Yeah,
get out of town,
yeah.
so.
So would there be a list of the parade participants coming out? Like, where
I don't think
order
Tootie
is?
knows that
Okay,
yet,
okay,
and the fire department is in charge of assigning order, so
okay.
Oh, Lord.
cozy up to the fire department.
And
Yeah.
where, do you even know where people are gonna gather?
Yeah, old people will be in the,
Did you say
Hebron
old
Heights.
people?
That's what I said. Like, over 80 will be in the Hebron Heights lot, the veterans,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
really old people, not just old people.
Not the medium rare, just.
The Monson mass people are
Elders.
gonna be at the old recycling building.
Okay.
And some people will be up at Rental Lane and everybody else will be kind of in between.
Oh,
So
okay.
Tootie's got the mastermind for this and I don't pretend, nor do you, I think, to know what Tootie's thinking. She's got it under control.
It's all in order anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can be sure of
And
that.
nobody will really know until the night before.
It will be a turning
it's,
page, so.
Prone to change too.
Right.
It's like,
So you mentioned there's different contingencies, meaning like groups.
Well, there's
contingents.
military, there's state police, she's got the important,
Business.
I'm thinking the important people up front, they're not necessarily the important people.
the people from Mass.
They're gonna be a little farther back, what did Tootie say?
But it's one parade.
It's one
Yeah.
parade, and
So you're just
she's,
talking about 3 blocks.
there's some kind of order
Like
to it, and I'm not
sections.
even
Okay.
trying to,
You don't need to open your spreadsheet.
well, I don't have a spreadsheet, trust me. Sheriff's Honor Guard, state police, military will be the first 50 units, that's the word I was looking for.
Units, okay.
And after that, it's up to the fire department, who goes when and
Gotcha.
stuff, so.
My understanding, there's actually going to be quite a few fire departments here.
Oh, there's,
7.
they
right?
invited a whole bunch of people, yeah.
Yeah, well, Brian from the fire department said that the, woman from the emergency communications or whatever was here and put a big email inviting all the departments in the, in,
The dogs in town will
I
not
know,
happen.
yeah.
Okay, duly noted.
And candy, so I'm just thinking cleanup afterwards.
There will be enough kids lining the route to have cleaned up all that candy.
hopefully, that's the idea.
If not, we'll send Jimmy out with a sweeper.
Yeah.
Jimmy at the ready.
Yeah. He was out this week cleaning up the sidewalks and the basketball court for.
Good for him.
the 20th, so.
Should we share the drama about this train
Oh dear.
after all that?
The train, I waited
No, I
and
did
waited
not.
to print the silly poster. I finally said to John, we're really getting the peanut roaster? Yep, we're really getting it. So I printed the poster and not 24 hours later, oops, no peanut roaster.
Oh, really?
They
After all
went
of
to-
that?
They went to
Asbestos
load it
issue.
on the trailer and the bottom fell out and all the asbestos was exposed.
Oh.
And they didn't think they could. We don't have a train.
Oh, bummer.
So, best laid plans, you tried,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Well.
It'll be a nice model across the street.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll have maybe we could do a Zoom call with the train, put it on the
You can
video.
set that up.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all you.
The Wi-Fi's not quite working yet.
So, unless Cindy has something I've forgotten, that's all I've got for bicentennial.
Beautification?
Well, fall plants will be
Keep going.
available in about 10 days. If you ordered already, good for you. If you didn't, we'll have a few extra to sell. So, and we did have a meeting recently. We reviewed our project list and updated it, got rid of some never gonna happens and talked a bit, and Sue expanded on this today via email, about some public sculpture ideas. So there was a session, an NPR segment today
In Maine
on
called
public sculpture
Public Art.
in Maine. And I listened to part of it,
Yeah.
and maybe able to.
It was kind of public art, but they had, like they mentioned, the Maine Arts Commission and Maine Community Foundation as some groups that can provide funding grants for public art efforts in towns. And then one thing that, if you don't mind, I
No,
mentioned,
go.
the Maine Sculpture Trail, which I didn't know about, but I've seen these sculptures. It's mostly in down east and Penobscot counties.
It's a
but-
Scudic.
Yeah, it's out of
Sculpture trail,
Scudic, and I thought, maybe they could expand to Piscataquis and we could have, so
They
they,
we make our own.
yeah, they have, artists, sculptors, and they, I don't know how they put it out to bid, and the sculpture is supposed to be kind of relevant to the location of the sculpture. So it's just something that kind of we just learned about would be a first.
We don't know what will happen, but we're working on some public art in town, so.
And this trail, people travel this, the whole down east just to find these sculptures.
Are the giants part of that? The wooden giants?
Oh, at
Oh.
the botanical gardens?
Oh, those
Is
are,
that what you-
aren't those?
the
trolls?
The trolls, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no, these are, and I should mention, these sculptures are mostly made out of granite. Maybe we
Ours
can
would have to be
mention that.
slate.
Two-dimensional.
Yeah.
But that's it for beautification for now.
All right. Old business, ATV access update.
That's you.
Is that me?
I think it's both of us.
Oh.
Okay,
You don't get
did you guys get the email from the guidelines to establish it from the state?
It looked like that was more on state roads.
Yes, so
Okay.
this is just the guide that they use. This is pretty much the only thing that I could find
Right.
that has anything to do with guidelines anyways, because everybody else is like, well, our club pretty much just tells us, and like, not helpful.
Right.
Not helpful in this aspect anyways, but, I figured this would be helpful for us, basically just establish our own guidelines. I printed out a copy just in case.
I don't think I got that. Is that one?
It was in a response to, I think, when I
Oh.
shared my, so
Oh.
I'll back up. So I reached out to MMA and just said, we're just wondering if you know of any other towns that have guidelines for their select boards when a request for ATV access on a town road comes to them. And so they
Got
forwarded
it.
my
Got it.
request to their
Yeah.
legal department,
Yeah.
and an attorney got back to me and he said, we've never heard of this, but this is a great idea. It would add consistency, et cetera. So, so anyway, I kind of emailed back to him, but I shared his response to you all.
Yeah, I do see it.
And there were some additional things. I know I mentioned at our last meeting, some things that from my perusal of other towns and their policies and ordinances. One was an annual review, I may have mentioned this, of the town roads that already have access of ATVs, just to, in terms of including public comment, that, things are being, operators are being, lawful or whatever, not a public nuisance, but also if anything has been, that needs to be maintained or repaired. The lawyer mentioned making sure we consider private land access issues in the guidelines. Enforcement of working with local law enforcement was really important. Road conditions, and I think we already kind of did that as part of our last year request. The width of the road, other vehicles, pedestrian traffic. Somehow also allow ATV access on the roads during daylight hours, not in the dark. Signage on the roads, and sometimes only allow access on roads for riders to access a nearby ATV trail versus just
Just going over.
local businesses.
This is an email that you sent.
It is.
Yeah. Anything on the top of your mind, Elena?
Not really. Not 100%. I was just reading what else I had in this glorious thing again. It has been a week since I, reviewed that. When Elliottsville Road is the one that has prevention right now, right?
Elliottsville and Willamette.
And Willimantic, okay. So when we opened those two roads, did we have any, how long have they been open?
At least 2 years.
One of them just went into effect last year.
That was Willamette,
Okay.
yeah. And I should say, they're all kind of probationary. There is no formal policy. It was just, let's give it a try and see how it goes. I have some thoughts, but I didn't want to cut you off.
No,
That
you're
was a-
fine, you're fine.
I was just gonna say, as far as like next steps go, I mean, I think it would make sense to invite the clubs, host a public meeting and do something, not at a select board meeting, but a separate meeting. This is what we did with Stewart Road, for
Okay.
example. And we can prepare some of these materials, we can come with some initial thoughts and recommendations, but rather move this conversation from the select board meeting to a public
Yep.
hearing
Yep.
and get feedback there.
Okay.
I think, I mean, all the metrics that Sue just mentioned, and then I think this framework from the state, that's a really great place to start that
Yeah.
conversation.
Absolutely. Invite clubs and people who are concerned, because we do have a couple of requests, so I'm sure that,
And residents on those roads.
Yeah.
On
Right.
the roads, yeah.
All right. Recreation Committee appointment and oath.
okay,
Found another person.
she did find another
Okay.
person. And I'm not even sure if I have that oath, but if you appoint them, you can sign it.
I can't think of her last name, I have to look it up.
What's her first name?
Morgan.
Morgan, yep.
There's two Morgans.
Yeah.
North Guilford Road?
North
Oh, yeah.
Guilford, Italian last name.
Yeah. Morgan and Tony.
Yes,
Right,
yes, okay. Does it start with?
Well, hold on, I'll look it up in my.
I was gonna say you,
My phone book just says Tony.
Mareglia.
Maraglia.
How do you say it?
Maraglia.
Okay, what she said, Mareglia, yeah. But she's more than happy to be part of the group
okay.
and wish to be appointed, and I said, of course,
Tony neighbor.
across the road from you, yeah, yeah.
Oh, what's that took Rebecca's one?
Yeah,
Okay,
5 children, they have reason to be part of the group.
Good.
Yeah.
So,
excellent.
So we just need to make the motion, she can sign the thing later.
Yep.
All right, I think Sandra, the chair of the committee, should make the motion.
I'm chair of the committee, oh dear. Okay, sure. So moved.
So moved, okay,
Second.
got it. Perfect.
I didn't know we had a committee.
It just seems that way, you spoke for the committees.
You're the president of the.
No, I'm not, no.
The mayor, the mayor of it.
Please, no.
Sounds like you're putting on another committee there.
Yeah. New business, scheduling a public hearing for shoreline zoning ordinance.
And don't forget this too.
That's a public hearing and a special town meeting. The public hearing would precede the special town meeting.
Like same day, right, do a hearing and then have a meeting.
6:30
Yeah.
or 6 o'clock public hearing, 6:30 special meeting. And then that gives everybody a chance to discuss it. And then after they discuss it at the public hearing, then you don't have to discuss it at the meeting.
Good.
Does anybody have any suggestions as for when we schedule this?
What do you think, Cindy? What is your recommendation?
It's whatever's convenient for everybody else. I'm the first Tuesday and every month I'm not available, but other than that,
Could we do it before the next select board meeting?
you've got to have,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's got to be posted in papers so many days in advance. 10, 7 days. So you've got to
So it
have
could
that
be,
in your time frame.
Paper.
or it could be.
Or we did the next one?
September.
The next one.
Could there be a special town meeting immediately following that? Okay.
What dates are you thinking?
So then in that case, maybe September 8th.
Would that be a select board meeting night?
Yeah, it is.
So it would be that, then a special town meeting, and then a select board meeting, or perhaps no
Um,
select board meeting?
special
At the
town meeting.
spe- public
Yeah,
hearing at
special, yeah, the
5:30.
hearing first and then the special town meeting and then the select board meeting.
So what's that time frame? 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30 for your select board?
Yeah, we can do that.
Or 5 o'clock for the public hearing, 5:30 for the special meeting?
That's
6 o'clock.
6, yeah,
That sounds good.
that works.
5:36,
Public
then
hearing.
the select board meeting time doesn't change, if that's okay,
That's fine.
sorry. Taking
And you
it out of your
said
hands,
No,
September
it's all
8th?
fine.
unintentional.
All good. What'd you say, Cindy?
September
September 8th?
September 8th, yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty cut and dry. It's basically typo errors, wording. It's like a colon or a semicolon here and there, and or instead of an and then basically the major one is that paper that I gave Elena about whenever you issue a permit in shoreline zoning, they have to take a picture of the whole thing before, and then they have to have one after, and I believe they have to turn that in and make it to the public, some public way, town office, 20 days after they're finished. So that, and you have to keep that in their file.
No later than 20 days after completion of a development.
Right,
Gotcha.
so that's the basic, that was the biggest mandate that they have, and the other stuff is, I forget, it's been, I think, since 2014 that we have needed to update our shoreline zoning ordinance to all of the different things, so that everywhere what really needs to happen, so. And the shoreline zoning ordinance, it kind of coincides with the new earth moving application that you have to do when you're in shoreline zoning, so kind of fits in.
Cool. Well, while we have you here, where are we at with the state and the comprehensive plan?
We need to send it to the state for their approval and get it back and have a public hearing and a special meeting for that.
Yeah.
And,
What does that timeline look like?
it's all ready, as far as I know. I haven't read it for a while, but, I can get in touch with Dean and, make sure that we've got the most current copy, but I did send that to Elena, the one that he sent to me, so. Yeah, there was a little bit of, he did work with Daniel with different parts of it that required the town manager's input on that, and he said that when we reviewed it at our planning board meeting, that if you want to have more economic development language in it, you have to have an elected board for an economic committee. And then you also have to put in a budget for that kind of thing in order for the state to not reject it. So what he's done is he's done all of the different things that make it acceptable to the state according to their guidelines, and then we can go from there. And then we'll implement whatever we have in the comprehensive plan in the land use ordinance. So we have to have this first, and then we can really kind of tweak the land use ordinance.
Great.
And we've done quite a bit in the land use ordinance. And, just lately Sandra and I are gonna work on putting it online, but we passed at the last, not this past town meeting, but the meeting before, the changing of the industrial zone to be industrial/commercial zone, which will enable them to have stores within that zone.
Yeah.
And those little things like that. And I hacked away at my computer and got it all, but I don't know how to go into a digital copy and delete it and paste mine in. So I've got it all typed up, ready. We just have to get
I'll
together.
figure out,
I
or
have-
screen.
You're talking about like PDFs?
Yeah.
I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is we don't need that.
Oh,
Because the good news is that it's part of the GIS platform. All we need to do is send the data to the GIS people. And it's, the zoning layers are already built in.
so Cindy's doc can get sent to the GIS people and they'll be good with that?
My document is as it was passed at the town level. I mean, how people voted this in.
Yep.
It's like, I just retyped it, and the reason I couldn't go in and edit the document in the first place is the last time somebody edited the document, they did not use Microsoft Word.
I was gonna ask you about that. It's all haywire in there.
And I got to a certain point in my editing, and I couldn't go any farther.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how they did it.
Sorry.
Copy it into a new Word doc?
Because, yes. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I
Go with-
misunderstood what you're saying. No, the work that you've done, that's good, because you're talking about the actual document, the land use ordinance. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that can just be PDF and re-uploaded.
Okay.
I was talking about the maps themselves.
No.
Oh, okay.
Those are all already
Yeah.
there.
I saw the confusion between but then the communication kept going, and I'm like, he's gonna figure it out. That
Sorry. On that note, so we're waiting for the commitment.
So the
is-
commitment is done now, and so now I can send our commitment book to the GIS people, and then they can send their digital version of the maps to me, and then I can put them on the state as well, and so we'll have an updated on all of their maps.
Okay, great.
And do we update people's addresses and stuff?
Theoretically, yes.
Because I still live in New Hampshire according to the tax map,
Okay, so in
which I don't.
In previous towns that I've worked in, the assessor is who changes all the addresses. That way, whoever is in that part of Trio, the only person that changes things in there is the assessor. But that's not how it works here, apparently. So what I am doing now, when people update their addresses, I go in and I'll change it, and then I will just make a comment that I went in and changed X, Y, Z, and I'll initial what I did and what day I did it, so that going forward, somebody can see the method to my madness.
It was
So,
changed,
Hopefully,
but it got unchanged. Just saying,
okay, well,
so,
we'll have to rechange it.
yeah.
And last comment on that is the website, the web page where you click onto the parcel viewer, that says that the town is looking for a new assessor, so we can just delete that language from the page.
Okay. Jade, delete. Looking. Speaking of assessor, I have the new assessor contract from July to June of next year, if you guys want to sign this.
We'll look at it first.
Sure. Do they provide, this one here about perform sales analysis, the ratio studies as needed? Do they do that as part of their standard thing or only when they ask for it?
I'm assuming it's probably something that they do anyways, but they would provide it to us if we asked for it.
I'm just curious because we did the reassessment a couple of years ago in part because our ratio was totally out of whack. I'm just curious, kind of on an ongoing basis, where we're at.
Well, I can certainly mention it to them.
Cool. There have been a couple wild sales this year. I'm curious.
I can imagine doing a rebound in the middle of this crazy. There are a few times that have. Garland being one of them. In 2021.
Is this the amount that we budgeted?
Yeah.
Good job, Chuck.
More stuff. Just let me-
So am I right, the homestead exemption, because we now have the tax stabilization thing as well. Is the assessor involved in that?
We hope so.
Yeah, we really hope that's an assessor problem and not a Elena and Marty problem.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's still wishful thinking and we're not 100% sure. And since this is so new to so many things, even the like guide to municipalities that they sent out is not very clear. So the next day that he's in, we're gonna have a sit down.
Talk to
I
him.
mean, there's a whole pile of applications in this folder, so I'm sure that's one of the first things he's gonna
We've
look
already got a bunch of applications.
It works the same way as the homestead exemptions, which we do give to the assessor, and we were just talking about, because we get reimbursed by the state, and we're not sure where they get their information. Is there like some kind of central,
Right.
system that the assessors put the information in? Because I've never been aware that, anybody's been working on getting the information to the state every year for homestead, but there is a deadline every year for
For the
requesting
stabilization.
reimbursement for
Yeah.
this, so, yeah, it's still up in the air as far as
Nobody-
whose job that's gonna be.
December 1st.
But the list is long, we'll have to hire another.
A lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us old folks here.
Well, the homestead is for anybody that's lived in their home forever or owned it and it's their main residence for over a year. So-
10 years.
Well, the
Not for
homestead,
homestead, it's 1
This is
year.
10 years.
Yeah.
The new thing is 10
Or
years.
the,
yeah, the new thing is 10 years.
the
homestead-
stabilization?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, okay.
That one's 10 years,
Yeah.
but the homestead is just 1 year. So she asked how many homestead exemptions we have and there's a lot.
I don't qualify for the new thing for a while, so 10 years. Well, the question is it from when you bought the property or when you became a resident? It is.
Are you, for the, which one? The homestead?
The new one.
The stabilization one? It's, when I filled it out, And I thought, according to what I saw, the information that was sent to us by MMA, it looked like you had to have the homestead before you could apply for the tax stabilization. But then when I filled out the tax stabilization form, and I did the homestead one as well, it's only, the homestead is only under the section that proves that you're a resident. So instead of attaching the homestead form, approved homestead form to it, you just attach a copy of your driver's license that has your address on it. So it wasn't very clear.
Maybe we should do a
Confusion.
homestead exemption.
You should.
If you've lived there as your
If you-
primary residence for a year, you totally should.
Okay, I'll come see you.
Do it.
It's 25,000
We'll hook you up.
is the exemption. When I first started,
35,000?
yeah.
How much they take off your.
Oh,
Fair
the
value.
The assessed value.
assessed value, okay. I thought you
But still,
said taxes. I was thinking, whoa, I'm good for 12 years.
When I first started, it was
Valuation,
just 5,000.
So I thought, when I read the homestead one, I thought it was, you had to be 10 years. for that. Okay. I added a 0 on something.
Sometimes when you're looking at too many things, they all just kind of come together.
Yeah, the first person that dropped one off was like, oh, okay, here you go, what do I do with this? I was like, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to send that to the state. And then I read it and I was like, rats.
And then Marty's on vacation and they come in and they're like, Marty told me this, and I was like, read the instructions. If the instructions at the bottom say, bring it back to the town office, bring it back to the town office. If not, mail it to the state. But it was just teary on it. So he's like, I'm gonna bring it back to you.
Yeah, and I have to get with a couple of other people that I gave this information to and told them it was the other thing, the one where the
yes.
state pays your property taxes.
Yes, there's.
Right.
Because I didn't know about this, and then I started getting some phone calls. I said, I better look into this. So I Googled it, and there's this big article in the Bangor Daily about the, if you're over 65, you make less than 40,000, they'll pay your property taxes,
Yeah,
but they
it's
put a
different.
lien on your property. And this, that. So I'm thinking this, and it was a recent article. I'm like, oh, well, this must be it. So I told a couple people it was that.
And they're like, oh, no, I don't want that.
So,
How often do we do reevaluations?
well, they're supposed to be done every 5 to 7 years, but the last one that we had done had been like 11 or 13 years or
So we're a
something.
little overdue?
No, we
No,
didn't.
no, we
No,
did it a
we
couple
did-
years
In
ago.
2019 was
Okay.
the last review.
Yeah, so we'll be due again probably in 4
Okay.
years.
Is there any precedent in Maine for doing them on a rolling basis? I know the town we lived in New Hampshire started just doing
Like a portion every year.
every year so that it was not a big hit to the budget, well, or the tax rate. It would be, just,
I don't know.
we don't have that many properties in town. It doesn't matter. People still complain.
I wonder if we might have talked about at least budgeting for it on a rolling basis.
It makes sense from a workload standpoint, because
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
don't have anybody having to look at every property in town. Just look it up. What else have we got to do tonight?
I think
That's it.
Move that we adjourn.
I thought she had more stuff up her sleeve from what she
No,
said
not
earlier
today.
today. I was,
Not today. I think we've all done our work for today. And then some.
we are kaput.
We are.